to be confirmed, what about those confirming them? Do they have that requisite qualification to listen to the presentation or the defense, as it were, of the ministers to be confirmed? Do they have that innate capacity to understand and appoint, or should I say, and okay, they'll take a bow and go, and then it's okay to have those kind of people to head those ministries?
No, well, some of them at the National Assembly do. Obviously, there are many others who may not have that kind of intellectual capability or capacity. But you see, I do hope that even if they decide that you're going to come up with the positions, this idea of going to the committee of the whole house does not help. You bow and go. There's nowhere in the world. We watched when Jeff Sessions, was a former senator in the United States, was being considered as the Attorney General of the United States. He still went through the normal confirmation hearing for days, not just one day. And people asked questions, took him on so many things. It was a public hearing. I think that's what we should be doing here. For the confirmation of any minister, or in fact, any officer that requires confirmation, there ought to be a public hearing where members of the public can come and raise issues. If you notice in the US, people submit memos, documents to their senators, or even the press, very active in trying to bring out facts in favor or against the nominees, so that questions are asked. This is what should be happening, which we don't do here. I do hope that this idea of a committee of the whole and the
take a bow
and go should stop. It doesn't help us.
About the separation of the offices of the AGF and the Minister of Justice, what should be the distinguishing feature in terms of their functions?
Well, the Attorney General is his main job is the job of prosecutions in the country. That is his main job. If you permit me, let me just read the 1960 Constitution that provided for that. It says, yes, there shall be a director of public prosecutions for the Federation. And then it says, to institute and undertake criminal proceedings against any person before any court of law in Nigeria, other than a court martial in respect of any offense created by and under any act of parliament. Then to take over and continue any such criminal proceedings that may have been instituted by any other person. And then it goes on and say that the powers conferred upon the DPP shall be vested in him to the exclusion of any other person or authority. The point that everything that concerns prosecution of anybody for any crime committed is the job of the Attorney General.
In other words, if any of those positions should be appointed by the President, it should be the Minister of Justice, not the Attorney General.
I beg your pardon?
If any of those positions should be an appointee of the President, it should be what? The Minister?
Oh yes, the Minister.
Not
the Minister is just a minister in the government, just like any other minister. Probably looking generally at the justice sector. Right. But in terms of the prosecution, because that's where the key is, most of the problems we have are who do you prosecute and who don't you prosecute. The decision, all these problems we have about corruption and so on, people complain about certain people who ought to be prosecuted and not being prosecuted. Look at the problems we face about even prosecutions that are not going well. These are issues that when they are taken away from the politicians and given to the proper public officer whose job it is with his proper staff, and then they'll do it and do it well.
All right, Mr. Zik Obi, a legal practitioner, thank you for your thoughts this morning.
Thank you.
So the amendment will begin, we understand they should start debating that tomorrow. We'll look to see if it will be on television. Well, we'll be back in a moment to turn our attention to another matter. Don't go away.